All right, well, hitting the road. No more lights. There we go.
Okay.
This episode of the AVB Podcast, we have come all the way back out here to we're in Niagara, actually, not St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, son of a gun. We're here in Niagara Falls, Ontario, at Freshly Squeezed Studios with audio engineer Mr. Jay Baty. How's it going, brother?
Yeah, it's going good.
Thank you so much for having us into your studio.
Thank you for coming.
Did a couple of recordings here that'll be coming out on the podcast. We got connected with you because Jai from Roadwaves connected us.
Yeah.
And said we should reach out to you, that you were a pretty cool cat, that you had this awesome studio down here.
Yeah.
I'll start with you the same way that I start with everybody. Give me a little bit about your history, man. Tell me about where you grew up, your family, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, I mean, I've pretty much been messing around with sound and audio since I was 8-9 years old.
Yeah.
The first thing that kind of started, I lived on the Parkway in Niagara-on-the-Lake, which was a nice place to live, and I started by getting a guitar because I was watching Rob Zombie's Dragula, believe it or not, and I just wanted to do that. I wanted to play that song. Of all songs, that one stuck out. And so got a guitar, got the videos of me dancing around in my underwear, just pretending to play it, and then I was like, yeah, I want to learn to play this thing, because for the first 3 years, maybe just sat around, just again pretending to play.
Right.
And then got lessons from the legendary guy from this area now, Niagara Falls, named Jeff Bond. Which is a cool name too. He actually went and tried out for the Chili Peppers at one point.
Nice.
But there's another story behind that. But, yeah, he's a great guy. He taught me for 6 years, and during all this time, at the same time I'm going home from my lessons and recording on a computer however I could. I would have microphones that would plug 1/8 inch into the front of a computer, and I would lay it on my leg and lay the guitar on top of the microphone, and I found that doing that created vibrations through the mic and much louder. I got the gain way higher. I was doing things like that, just experimenting with anything and everything I had audio around me.
Now, was that out of experimentation, or was it out of necessity?
It was out of experimentation and necessity. I mean, because obviously the stuff that didn't work just was thrown in the garbage. So, and if that's what I ended up with, that was my necessity. It was just this little. It was even a square microphone, like one of those old walkie-talkie ones.
Right.
I was sitting on my leg, put the guitar on top of that, and be twice as loud. So we started doing that. I started messing with Windows sound recorder from Windows 95. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that
absolutely. Yep.
1-track recorder, but you could reverse the sound, which was the coolest thing too, because I would speak words and obviously I would just swear, because who wants to use other logical words? So I would just say swear words, reverse them, hear them reversed, try and mimic them verbally reversed, and reverse
and then
that,
reverse them,
and play it back forwards
to see if you could get it right.
And I'd record those, and I'd do that all day. So that's kind of where everything just stemmed from, and it just blew up from there.
You said you grew up in Niagara-on-the-Lake?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your family. Tell me about mom and dad. What do they do?
Mom was kind of a stay-at-home mom. I don't think kind of. She was a stay-at-home mom. She cut hair before that, and she owned a flower shop with my dad. My dad's a technical engineer for industrial boilers and compressors and all that massive machinery that runs all of our
artsy musical. Either one of them?
No,
eh?
I mean, my mom was artsy when it came to making her flower arrangements and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool, and she was pretty creative with that stuff. But no, my dad didn't really have much. I didn't really.
Was art and music a thing in your house?
No, nowhere.
So it was literally you just saw this weird guy with dreadlocks and.
Yeah, it's just me loving music. Here's a little tidbit about me that I don't tell many people, and it's that even No Doubts, I'm Just a Girl, alright? I danced to that in my underwear playing guitar, okay? I liked music like crazy, crazy. And so it just, I don't know, out of nothing, it just started doing it, and that's all I wanted to do, and I was privileged to do it. Mm-hmm. My father was pretty well off, and I owe everything behind you see to him, and him helping me out. You know? So again, I'm very privileged in that way, but it doesn't mean I didn't work my goddamn ass off and
Sure.
kill myself to know how to use all this shit.
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
Get the experience that I have, you know, which is pretty. I think it's pretty.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a young kid. You get your first guitar. You start messing around with that, and then you start
That's
playing.
like
guitar.
10 years old. Yeah.
How long does it take you to take that guitar and then start worrying about the recording process?
Well, like I said, it was kind of happening at the same time. I was recording it, trying to get my recordings better with whatever I had around me. So eventually it evolved
But
into...
in that process, were you thinking about recording, or were you just thinking about getting a recording of your guitar? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't... Nah, I don't know. I guess I was kind of thinking engineering, because I was listening to sonic qualities. I was changing microphones, experimenting with where they were put on my drums. But at the same time, I was writing the music I was recording. But as long as I took the time and effort to engineer it with what I had, and then spent the time to also make the music. You know, so it was really in such a tandem that it was all being thought of all the time. There was no other way to do it for me.
Was there
do it that way?
So if mom and dad weren't musical influences for you, did you have other friends that started to find music?
No, I was the friend who got good at guitar and made like 7 to 10 other kids in my class start playing guitar.
Really?
You know, so I got lessons and was doing things a lot of kids weren't really doing. And now my teacher's like, yeah, man, you were like a kind of a little prodigy to me. And I mean, I had no idea then like how well I had been playing the instrument. I was just doing what I was really enjoying, and I played the friggin' thing hours and hours a day.
Were you one of those kids just locked in your bedroom
I'd
kind of
go.
thing?
Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, again, it was a privilege. I had all the toys to do it, so I friggin' did it.
So mom and dad were like in on this, like they saw you fucking around. They're like, all right, fine, here's the money, go.
But it was still, and then that's kind of what it was, though, right? It was just like go in your room and go and do that, and that's what I did. So, but I came out.
Would you bring
great talent? At the end of it all.
Excuse me. Would you bring it out to them? Like, would it be something you would show off to them?
I mean, they would come to my recitals for lessons. Once I got into the rock shows and everything and really loud, then they didn't really come out anymore.
No.
But I don't blame them.
Sure.
There's bars, it was madness.
Right.
They're watching their kid, like, getting drunk and doing things, you know, you probably shouldn't be doing.
What was the scene around here like then?
Well, the Falls has kind of always been like the tourist scene.
Right.
It's not a scene even I would call anything. I mean, it's got, because you're competing with like Seneca theaters, like the casino theaters where there's superstar talent, and then people paying, you know, those tickets aren't even really that much. So you pay to go see a real show, and then you trickle out after all your drinks and fun at that show to a bar where there's, you know, your favorite cover band or a cover band playing other people's music just to entertain you. And those cover bands are amazing around here, don't get me wrong, there's lots of them, but it's really just a one-track mind of that, and that's it. There's no real venues. Not much of a
music community.
There's no
for the
original
Falls.
like there is. It struggles, you know, but it always trickles over to the St. Catharines, because St. Catharines doesn't have this tourist obsession like the Falls does. The Falls is just raped and pillaged by tourists.
Right.
St. Catharines is that off city that's not like the honeymoon capital. It doesn't have a landmark thing. It's not just.
And it's funny because they're like
seasonal.
right next door to each other. Like when you look at them on a map coming from where we're coming from, they might as well be the same town.
Yeah, and when you're here, it's a huge difference. Like Niagara Falls is a bubble.
Yeah.
I'm really very bubble-minded, and I mean, I live here and stuff, but
right.
But again, it is close, so you can venture out everywhere else. Go to Toronto, and there's your main hub. You know, Toronto's the best place. But St. Catharines is definitely the area to do shows, like Warehouse, and that's a brand new venue. But the other venues weren't even that great before. There was a double-layered L3 venue, which tons of bands. Like I opened for Mother there like 3 or 4 times. who else plays there? Bedouin Sound Clash might have played there one time. There was also Mission or Barracuda Pretty, or however many names it went through. A huge club. That's where like Sloan and like the Trues, and we did I did set up audio systems shit for those shows and everything. So that was the place where the real cool stuff went on, and where the actual original bands were doing stuff and going places, I guess. Not to say that no one out of the Falls has ever not gone places, but
it's just different.
It's just different. It's just different scene. Again, the people in the Falls know it, and they know where to go.
And they end up going.
Yeah, they end up going to St. Catharines and everything else, or just right to Toronto. Right, Toronto's your best bet.
So, what was important to you musically coming up as you were developing all of this craziness?
Well, it was. I mean, I definitely was more musical than engineer for a long time. I fell out of recording a lot, and I was just gigging like crazy. My musical backgrounds are like punk and rock, classic rock, pretty much everything, even down to like some friggin' Faith Hill tracks, you know, that Let Me Let Go, some good harmonies in that. But it's like a sappy song, you know.
I like a good sappy song.
Yeah, when you knew me well, you wouldn't expect that. And so, you know, I grew up with a really punk-ass brother, too. He had, like, mohawks, blue mohawks, instead of leather jackets. I thought that was cool. So I followed his trend, you know. But I was also one of those people who trickled between all the clans and was cool between all the clans. You know, with the punks, they'd headbutt me in the face, and that was our handshake. And then I'd go over to like the Jocks or something. I was a semi-pro soccer player for a while. I'd kick a ball and juggle with them and kick them in the balls and be, yeah, bro. And then I'd go over to the nerds and I'd be like, yo, did you play the new Legend of Zelda or something? Yeah, right. I killed this part. And then I'd go over to the other nerds, the video and audio people, and I was right in there. So I really got in everywhere. Maybe not with the genius people. I definitely didn't fit in there. But
it was kind of important to you to sort of be able to walk through.
Yeah, because why? I mean, because then you're not like there was always. Maybe it was just the repetitiveness of seeing everyone in their groups. Like you're just doing that all the time. Like, just be something different. Like, look, I'm friends with everybody. Like, you won't go over there because you're too cool, but I do, and I talk to everybody. Why can't everybody do that? Like, why pigeonhole yourself with, you know, certain types of people, and there's no need, no reason. Those are cool people to have, because then you can just, like, divulge into one set of madness at a time.
Right.
And, you know, like a different drink every time or something. But I don't know. I don't think.
Do you still live your life that way?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so?
Now, I mean, a lot more timid now. I mean, I was a madman before. I was, you know, like I said, I was in 2 really popular bands in the area, and we were opening for every band coming through, and so it was just a lot of partying, and I just lived as it came in front of me, you know, whatever happened, like, let's go there, let's do that, and let's go there, let's do that.
Right.
Very wayward living in my car, sleeping in people's basements, even though I had a place to live. I mean, I lived with my parents for a long time.
Right.
Until, you know, again, I was privileged with a house and I had to pay rent for it, but up until then, I was just trucking around, playing, partying, trying to make enough clout that, you know, you can continue, because that's really in doing this entertainment thing, you have to create so many relationships to keep going, otherwise the well runs dry pretty quick. You know, so living waywardly and going wherever the shit took you was key to me, and that really did get me to everything I did. I mean, it got me into 2 bands. It got me into playing in front of thousands of people all the time.
Tell me where it took you. Where did it take you to?
I mean, not extremely far physically. Okay. Like, I've only really toured around the Ontario area and some in Europe for a while with a friend of mine as well. But it took me to a endless supply of entertainment and enjoyment, and depression and all that madness that comes along.
Talk to me about that side of it.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess. No, is that the right one?
Yeah.
You can't have all this great stuff with not having some bad stuff. So, I mean, now I don't drink as much now. Let's just say that. I do not drink as much now as I take a drink. I smoke mad dope to just kind of keep me calm and away from overly drinking. I'm not at that point now where you drink and you just like disappear, turn into a monster.
Yeah.
I black out and I fucking do bad things to good people, and I don't want to do that anymore. So
has that been something you struggled with?
It wasn't a horrible struggle. It was mainly my girlfriend now took the brunt of it, and I've never believed that I could do the things that I've done in this very area, believe it or not, that I did after drinking, and was like, holy fuck, I'm now one of those people that I've looked at before. I'm like, man, that guy's fucked. How could he do that? I've turned into that, and that was a big realization, and that had to change. So
is that fairly recent? That feels fresh.
It's in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Some like to go even deeper, like some family stuff went on. I had this wedding with my brother in Jamaica, and he like went raging cocaine on me and my girlfriend in our room, and it separated my family for the last 3 years. I don't talk to them really like at all until recently.
Okay.
So that all kind of happened, and that definitely upped the drinking game. And I never did drugs. Like I never did coke or anything like that at all. Just again, I don't think marijuana is a drug, but I smoke lots of pot. So yeah, it's kind of a classic, family destroyed, things crumbling around you. So
you dove in.
I wanted to make myself better because I didn't want to be the one doing these bad things anymore.
Right.
And I made a lot of changes. I got with my girlfriend Tammy, who's got 4 kids. I took on a huge jump with that, taking 4 children. That's a insane experience. I don't know if you have children.
I do. I've got 2 kids of my own. I haven't had to take on anybody else's kids though. I couldn't imagine. There's days I don't want to keep mine.
No, it's a big. I like to call it a big fucked up relationship, but it's amazing at the same time because my girlfriend's such a angelic person, like spiritual, and she's medical. She's a genius. She has higher IQ than Albert Einstein and all that shit. But she knows her shit.
Yeah.
And she's opened me to spirituality and everything. And that also has made me realize, like I don't need to be this way of drinking and personifying myself, as a drinker and a crazy, because it was just like crazy all the time, just shows drinking, me going, let's do this, like literally just bouncing like a fucking pinball.
Were you one of those guys that sort of like identified with that, like that's who you thought you had to be?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I forced it so hard, and people didn't want to be around me for too long because I would just get out of hand, but at the same time, I was a fucking rock star, I was a fucking rock star. So I had to live that up too.
And that was in your head, right?
Oh yeah, drinking on stage. And I mean, we still played well, don't get me wrong. People would be like, you guys are the best drunk band I've ever fucking seen in my life. Like, okay, so we're not doing bad.
So it sort of feeds into it, right?
But yeah, it's the classic story, musician. I just fortunately haven't been banging needles like some maniacs.
Right. You've probably been close to some of that stuff though, right?
I've seen it all, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. As most people do as they go through life. You can't really get away from shit like that these days, especially. I mean, But in like Victoria, it's people just laying all over the ground in the park, needles hanging out of their arms, you know?
Right.
I dated a girl, her like younger brothers were just like doing it, anything they could find, they would cook it up and just put it in their veins like that.
Really?
It's just like 18-year-old kids doing this. Like,
from around here?
Oh yeah. This one guy was just like her, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't even talk about that. Yeah, it was fucked up stuff.
Tell me the story without the details. Like without the identifiers.
It's hard to do.
Can't even? Yeah.
It's just scum. There's still scum.
Yeah.
There's lots of scum around here, you know. People doing oxys and perks and shit like that.
I don't think that's just around here. I mean, we've
well,
got
of course
we've got
not.
the same
It's
thing.
everywhere,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, for sure.
But it's an
the same.
issue here
That's
too.
That's why I keep saying it's the classic, you know, classic same story here. Dirtiness in the world.
Right. It's weird because the entertainment industry is so connected to all of that stuff all the time too, right?
Yeah.
Because it's got the glitz and glam of the, you know, like you said, I'm a fucking rock star, but then you turn around and I'm a rock star, but I'm hanging out with the fucking guy who lives in the alley around the corner, right? Like there's a lot of that shit.
Yeah. But you want to be part of that. That's like, I mean, because eventually one day you hope that the glitz and glamour comes along and changes the, you know, surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It's changed a bit for me. I've got some pretty nice surroundings, obviously.
Right.
But it was the experience for me. It was all about the experience.
Yeah.
Just going wherever you could. Because that's all. I mean, how many documentaries do you watch? And there's my other, like, obsession is watching, like, documentaries on other artists and connecting the dots between many of them. And the dots are always... They got little to no family.
Right.
They fucking lived their life doing it. They took off somewhere vastly far away to do it, and they're living it. You know, like
it's so funny that you just broke it down like that because you essentially just explained how and why I conduct interviews, right? Because if you listen to the stories of the people that make it, the stories are always the fucking same. It's, you know, there's variance, right? Like there's variations. There's the, you know, I grew up with no family, you know, that kind of made it as a success.
Family.
I had great, you know, like, and there's variance of it. And that's kind of why I end up always asking about like how people came up and stuff. It's specifically because of that. Those cliche stories typically tend to be the same when you really start looking at them. That's something you identified with early on too?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because I often identified with like the idea of the, you know, like the tortured artist. You know what I mean? Like you've got to have...
I'm not much of a lyricist, so that diminishes that torture on me.
Right.
But still, the music part can be just as torturous.
Right.
Is that a word? Torturous?
Yeah, I even just meant like, you know, when you hear about artists, like artists basically living, you know, like hand to mouth kind of thing, nothing around, like you've got to be the starving artist kind of thing.
Yes,
right?
Like you almost have to thrust yourself to that to become, to have your rite of passage, you know?
So you have the right to talk about it.
Yes. like you can't be a blues man if you don't have hurt in you, right?
Right.
Can't be a musician, period, I don't think, if you don't have some hurt in you. So I forced it upon myself because I did live a privileged life. You know, so I would like literally like, fuck that, I'm getting out of this house, you know, live in my car and just wherever I can. I
did you know you were doing that at the time though?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're like, fuck it, I'm doing just,
Quite a bit ahead of the thing, you know, the life thing for a while. I had a lot of friends look up to me, you know, and take what I said pretty seriously, and you know, drinking was another stream for that. It really brought out this like empowered being in myself that I really had to fucking tell everyone in some elaborately loud and overpowered way how to live their lives properly, and not to stay in your basement, get the fuck out of your basement and go out there and do it, you know?
Right.
But doing that and living the way I did, I don't think there's a better way, even though, you know, it almost killed me at times, as I'm sure normal things do in normal life, but I chose this one.
Have you ever held a regular job?
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, while gigging and everything else too, I worked for my dad, doing working where he worked illegally actually since I was 13. Because you weren't supposed to be in these places like General Motors.
Right.
Shouldn't even say that. General Motors, the powerhouse and shit. My dad had really good contracts with like boats that came through the canals. We'd go on the boats and I'd work on like shit that if you went like and turned this mercuroid, which is a small glass tube full of mercury, that once it would like tilt to a certain way, it would roll, hitting two contacts and set off an alarm or something.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would do that, it would blow up the fucking building. Like something would set off, maybe not literally, but it was that dangerous and that intense, the stuff we were working with. So I've done that.
And you're like a kid.
I'm like 13 years old. But again, like my dad knew I had a mind enough to do it, otherwise he wouldn't have brought me there,
right.
you know. And my brother. So I did that. I did that for like 10 years probably, because it was great. I was making way better money than most of my friends, you know.
Right.
Buying a case of Corona as opposed to a case of fucking Lucky.
Right.
And then I said, fuck you, Dad, I'm going to do it myself, man. Went and became a cook in the Great Wolf Lodge, dish picking cook.
The stories about musicians finding their ways into goddamn kitchens.
Once and once only. And that was like a buffet kitchen, so like a regular,
right.
like just plated a la carte thing. It's like fucking destruction buffet. Like massive. Oh, that place is huge. Great Wolf Lodge are massive facilities with, I don't even know how many people, hundreds and hundreds. Like the rooms are fully bunked with cottage things and shit. Tons of people, and that buffet is way too small for that many people. And you're just like fucking pancake mix and eggs are the worst on anything stainless steel. You have to soak that shit for like 20 minutes. By then it's like they already needed 10 of them put through. It was hell. So I did that for 3 months, got the fuck out of there, went to school.
For audio engineering?
Audio engineering at Metalworks in Mississauga.
Tell me about that, because Metalworks it's not like going to college, right?
No, it's like it's a private college for
right.
you know, it is what it is. But you don't have to have anything to get in, like other than obviously the money, which isn't horrible. As I know, it's the same as any other fucking university or college
trade school kind of thing,
but condensed into like a year, you know, which is intense as well.
But doesn't Metalworks have some like pretty high-end hyped programs or something?
They do. I mean, the reality is, and it's the same thing, and it's the same going back to the way I live my life. I just go where the flow is. And like that's the scene. Like there's a scene going on at Metalworks. There's teachers who are working with huge producers and engineers and bands out there. They have worked with them. So they got connections. Like the live sound guy I worked with was like, here, I got fucking Robert Plant's fucking cell number right here on my phone. I can call him anytime. He's my boy. Like that's ridiculous. Just knowing those people,
right?
And making yourself known to those people, because you're in a sea of shit-dicking students, you know, like rocking around like all wide-eyed and just idiotic. You got to be the cool one. Otherwise, that's it too. It's such a fucking, you got to be cool, man. Like, even my teachers at Metalworks would teach you, if you don't fucking drink, you better start drinking, or pretend to, because it is a drinking industry. Like, just walk around with a pretend drink.
Right.
You don't have to do drugs, but and then the teacher would tell us shit like about their stories of other producers at Metalworks, like Elliot telling us coming into Studio one time and there being a bunch of like colorful fingernails stuck in the carpet of the studio floor from probably some dude banging a hooker in there the night before, got her fucking fake nails stuck in the carpet. Like shit like that. This is the stuff they're telling me. We did a course, communications and technology or something, and it was just about speaking, kind of like me and you are doing even right now, and knowing how to and being clear and concise. And one project was to describe your worst and best days of your life. And my worst one that I described was a mushroom trip that I did for the first time. And a friend of mine falling like 2 stories from the top of a pine tree. Like he literally had the top of a fucking pine tree in his hands here, over top, looking, peeking on like 4 grams of very good mushrooms. And it snapped. He fell. Now, looking at somebody falling through a tree on mushrooms is even more insane. It was like a stop-go animation. Like, he didn't go like, duh, 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 like you'd think, like hitting each branch and plummeting down. Right. He just went, duh, 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 and broke every fucking branch on the way down. Branches the size of my leg. And this is like a 120-pound kid. He's not even like a big guy. And he's just... Again, and I'm watching this, and he lands right in front of me. Like, this is the story I'm telling to my whole class. Everyone's pissing their pants laughing. And I'm like, yeah, so that ruined the day. Everyone just laughs.
I'll tell you, I've actually got a similar story. It has no mushrooms involved. But we were like 13 years old, me and 2 buddies of mine. Our parents, for some reason, decided to let us go on our own camping in Maple Bush. It's this like wooded area out by where we lived, right? You got to hike down, railroad tracks and all this shit. So we go out there for a weekend. Well, the first night that we're out there, we got a campfire going because there's coyotes out there and shit. So you got to keep a fire going. And we're looking for firewood. And instead of just roaming around the fucking, area and picking up logs off the ground, my one buddy goes, well, there's these really nice branches that are up on this tree, and this tree is like, it's got to be, and I mean, I'm a kid, and it's been years, so I don't know what the actual distance, but it's got to be like 15, 20 feet up, right? This kid, because he's one of those kids, shimmies this tree, right? Climbs it to the top. Make this as difficult as possible. Right? And he gets out on this branch, and he starts yanking on the thing. Well,
I thought he didn't have I thought you said he had a saw or something. No tool, nothing.
Nothing.
Like, I'm just gonna go fucking pull this around, bro.
And so he cranks on it, and it snaps. Well, it snaps, but like does one of these like stops on its way down, just enough to get him to let go of the thing.
Yeah, because he's probably like still alive,
right?
And it doesn't break all the way.
So, but no, it does.
It does, really?
Yeah. So it breaks, but it does this like jerking action, and he drops it. He falls the 15, 20 feet, whatever it is, onto the ground, but underneath him is another fucking tree. So he lands back first onto this log from 15 feet.
Like laying down?
Yeah.
Fucking snap.
Yeah.
Like,
back first. And then the branch he was hanging on falls and hits him on the chest. We thought he was fucking dead. Yes. Yeah, it was like straight out of a cartoon. And
that's not funny.
We thought he was dead. My buddy and I, and it was his brother that was sitting next to me, we look at each other, we look at him, he goes, oh, fuck, and we burst out laughing. We were rolling on the... He survived the thing.
At least after that.
No issues whatsoever.
Yeah, my dude landed and knocked the wind out of him, so now, like, his face is going like this, and he's going... Because he's knocked the wind out of him. And my girlfriend, who's sober, I'm like, can you look at him? Is he okay? Is he okay? I'm fucked. Is he okay? And he was okay. Somehow, he didn't get skewered or broken. Just some bruises and oh fuck.
That's funny. And you got any more of those from musician stories? Give me another crazy one.
Well, see now. Dano, who you're doing tomorrow.
Love Dano. Mr. Dano O'Shea from My Son the Hurricane.
Nah. Like, he's like kind of like a new man and stuff now. I don't know if it's like something I should do. Well, we've had some pretty awesome times with the Hurricane, nonetheless.
Right.
We've toured a few, like just like a 3-day thing or like a 2-show 3-day thing, out to Sudbury, out to Windsor, and there's been some like strip club nights and stuff like that, and nights where it's just like
craziness.
Yeah, damn, I wanted to go further with that. I shouldn't though.
Yeah, we'll ask Dan tomorrow if he's willing.
Maybe
to do
he will. Maybe he will, because I'll be here. Other than that, me and the Chris going out to Guelph nights. It's like, it's not like huge parties with other other bands, but just what we did ourselves, like and pushing the limits of drinking and doing the shows. I mean, I haven't really done tons of drugs before shows. I've done mushrooms with a dude named Penner McKay and Andy McKay, who are really Niagara legends. Andy plays with like some big bands, like he plays with Fifi Dobson and this Tebe guy and some bigger like arena style groups. And we all jammed one time like in Niagara on the Lake under a podium, under a pavilion with a bunch of polar bear swimmers and other people eating mushrooms and smoking weed, and like shit like that goes on around Niagara all the time. Like getting guitars out and getting into weird forested areas far away.
That is one thing I will say, is that in my experience with the musicians that I've dealt with in this area, there is kind of a weird sort of, and I said it in the interview with Anthony, but there's kind of like a weird hippy dippy kind of like that sort of vibe with the musicians around here.
Yeah.
Am I reading that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, there's oh my God, what's that group? Perpetual Peace Project.
What is that?
This is, and like they're all friends of mine and stuff, but it's just kind of like this traveling hippie group.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, we are. Because again, like they're all friends and stuff, but it's hilarious when these guys come around, because they're all tie-dye wearing, you know, dreaded up and bringing whatever instruments they found, even made at home.
Right.
And whenever there's a Perpetual Peace Project show, and you're doing, because I do a lot of live sound, if I see that on my bill, it's like, fuck. Because, like, how many fucking congas do I have to mic up? how many tambourine players are going to want me to mic them up? And I love it. And it's good fun. And there's usually some really, like, better players amongst them than some of them. And it's just the ones in the background. It's like, no, come on. Come on. Find that rhythm. You got it. So there's like groups like that. There's and even like Moonfox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're pretty out there kind of people. There's this festival called In the Soil Arts Festival, which is really cool around here, that I do sound for each year, and that's like the most eclectic people in the friggin' area all gather at once. That's like the festival for that. But it's not just music. It's like crazy artists painting, doing weird shit, doing weird just installations where they dress up and stand there for fucking hours on end.
Right. Like the human statue shit. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the bands, they specifically want like weird out there bands. I did a set with someone who had, their whole thing was just jellyfishes projected onto a screen behind them, chick on a big cello and a dude with like a theremin even, and they just with this trippy lighting going on and fucking jellyfishes. That was the whole thing for like 45 minutes straight, just jellyfishes.
That's
and Anthony was there. That's where I met Anthony the first time. Anthony's sweet.
He's an interesting dude, that guy. It was really fun sitting down with him. But like I find he's just kind of, because I first met Anthony when Fat Moth came down and did the show in Windsor, and kind of that, you know, that's where I met Emily and all of that. But it's like all of when the Pindles came down, and even to a certain extent it's not the Pindles, sorry, it's Pindles. I kept fucking
Graham's like the oldest friend of existence of mine.
Oh yeah, Graham's great dude.
First, me and him first played together, first started together, everything.
Yeah.
Longest time fucking friend in existence.
Yeah, great guys. And that's the whole thing. Our entire experience back in Windsor dealing with all these bands that came down from this area was it just felt like decidedly different. Like it's a different vibe, but it felt like a different kind of Windsor. It felt like another town that was like the border city that's heavily musically influenced, lots of art and culture, lots of sort of like, you know, artsy fartsy dude, and it sort of feels like that comes out, and I'm glad to hear that I didn't misread that.
No, it's pretty next level too, because of the also surrounding, like, I mean, they got nice performing arts centers and shit there that a lot more prestigious kind of stuff comes through, you know. It's not just like your classic rock groups. It's like Elton John fucking came to St. Catharines. Like, what the hell? Like, in a small arena
too.
in St. Catharines, like, insane.
Yeah.
Elton fucking John. I set it up great for Elton John. So that gives the hope and makes everyone go hard in St. Catharines. I mean, there's a lot of really, really keen fucking people in St. Catharines, and I mean, because of those outlets being so close, like Toronto and everything, it makes you have a bit of a better chance, and that's kind of why it's populated and growing, I guess. You know, you can't beat that when Toronto's that close, and a lot of people coming from St. Catharines. I mean, what, like Alexis on Fire dudes came from here, and
right.
I'm sure there's more than that. That's all I can think of right now.
No, that's awesome. No, I mean, I honestly, I have to say, I have to thank you for sure. Thank you so much for inviting us here, having us stay here. That's incredible, and letting us shoot in your studio, man. This and I can't say it enough about how much I've really enjoyed yourself and all of the people in this area. And thanks for being a part of all of this, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate the shit out of it, dude.
It's my life.
Yeah, that's it. Before we take off, how can people find you? Where can
so my studio, pro studio, multi-room facility, freshly-squeezed-studios.ca, not .com. Just Google that, or just Google Freshly Squeezed Studios.
Beautiful.
That's the thing to do these days, right?
We, as usual, have all the links down below. You can find them there, as well as links to all of our sponsors, including Merch Runners, who gives us these awesome t-shirts. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. And also, make sure while you're down there, you click on the subscribe button and hit that bell so that you can get the notifications for all of our upcoming episodes. We'll see you next time, folks. See ya.
Woo!
Okay.
Right on.